Welcome to the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young, owner of Amazon's Fitness Magazine. Celebrate the female physique. Subscribe to Amazon'sFitMag.com. The podcast is brought to you by Maximus Posing Suits. Let your inner warrior shine. Custom-made competition suits for victory on every stage. And GPS photography and video. Why photography and video? Because if a photo is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. GPSphotoandvideo.com. And new bronze level sponsor, Murder Weight. You're not just wearing a clothing brand, you're wearing a mindset. Murderweight.com. My guest is Mina Greenlee. She is an NPC wellness competitor. We've seen each other in and around Charlotte at the shows like two ships passing in the night, but now finally meeting.
Yes.
How are
It's
you
been
doing?
a long time. I'm doing
Yeah, it has.
fantastic. Just staying busy with clients and competitors while preparing for the show myself. So I'm definitely staying busy, spinning a lot of plates in the air, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, that's the way you build your brand, of course. And so what show are you getting ready for?
I'm doing 2 this year, the Carolina
Okay.
State Championship to re-qualify for the NPC National Championships, which will be in Irving, Texas this time around. Last time
Nice.
I competed, it was in Orlando, so it'll be a nice little change of scenery.
Yeah, I saw you in Orlando as well. I was at that show.
That was
Carolina Gonzalez was the wellness competitor. But yeah, so I've seen you around just just now officially meeting. So this is good. This is great. And the fact that you're in Charlotte is all the more better. So tell us a little bit about Mina Greenlee. And of course, you can follow her at Major Mina on Instagram. But tell us a little bit about you.
so where do I start? I grew up here in Charlotte,
Mhm.
outside of Charlotte, and I grew up showing horses, and that was a major part of my life, all the way from like, I was probably 3 years old to 2017. My horse, I found out, had an injury, and that's how I stopped that competitive side. I
Mhm.
was already in the gym, and I was interested in bodybuilding, but wasn't quite confident enough or didn't really know where to begin that journey. And then there was a local competition to Charlotte, and I got my feet wet right there. And that was my first show where I began in bikini. And then in 2020, I made the switch to wellness as it came around because those horseback riding legs, they would not go anywhere for bikini. And that was the feedback I always got. They're like, you got to bring your quads down. You got to bring your quads down. So I was like, okay, what about wellness? And I'm like, yes. So that's when I decided to make the switch. Um, I've had a pretty interesting competitive history. I have
Mhm.
not done shows back to back. Every time I compete, I take 2 to 3 years off in between. I feel like that's pretty pertinent for growth, especially as a female athlete. And that kind of
Mhm.
goes straight into what I do as a coach. I always say that I want to be the person that I wish I had when I was coming up, who had my health in mind, who my health from physical to mental health, um, and kind of gave me that white glove treatment and walked me step by step through the shows. Because, like Glenn, I was lost. Like I had no idea what I was doing at my first show. I was nervous. I was sweating so much that like my spray tan was starting to come off. People were
Oh,
pumping up backstage, and I was like, well, I don't know what everybody's doing, but I guess I'll do the same.
did you have a coach at the time, or you were just winging it?
I did have a coach, but I
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily getting the hands-on feedback that I needed. I got a diet, I got a training plan, but as far as like when to sign up for the show, how to prepare for the spray tan, what to do backstage, what to eat on the day of the show, like where to
Mm.
get my suit from, the list goes on, especially as a female competitor.
Right.
Um, Posing, oh my gosh, my posing was so bad. It was so bad. And that's where I kind of learned the importance of that. So that's what I'm super passionate about today is helping others who posing does not come naturally to like it did for myself,
Right.
helping them achieve a polished presentation on stage, even when it seems impossible from the start. I could keep going on and on, but I don't know if that's
Can you hear me? No, I can hear you now.
Oh, you
Keep
can hear
going.
me?
Yeah,
Okay.
keep going. I can hear you. So I guess when you look at it, having an athletic background of showing horses and riding horses, that built up your quads so much. So that's one advantage. And so now you just need to look at the backside of a horse and like that's what you need to look like when you talk about wellness.
Yes, I was not blessed with the genetics back there. So I've
Mm-hmm.
actually been trying to out-train my genetics. My upper body grows very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so at this point in my career, I'm really only training legs and glutes. Less legs, more glutes, so that my legs don't overpower them. But it's always possible. So a lot of people say like, you must be born that way. I was not. There's photos to prove it that I did not
Yeah.
have much going on back there. So I just trained really, really, really hard, constantly in the hopes to continue to progress my physique. But the legs, they're there. They've always been there.
Mhm. You come a long way, that's for sure. And
Mhm.
so now when you go into the state championships in Shelby, was that by design or you wanted to go towards the end of the year?
A little bit of both. So the last time that I competed, I did do the Carolina State Championships and I won the overall. It was my first
Hmm.
overall win after many, many competitions in bikini. That was actually my first wellness competition. I had to pull out of my shows in 2020 prior to that. So it was my wellness debut. I won the overall. So it's just kind of a little full circle moment for myself.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to give myself time at like again, I took about well, at this point, before I get on stage, it'll be 3 years off, but I took 2 years off really from heavy bodybuilding. I went to the gym. I didn't have a strict routine. I still ate 5 meals a day. I had a little bit more flexibility with that just for my own personal well being. I had
Hmm.
started bodybuilding when I was 18. So I spent the
Mm.
entirety of my early 20s just being solely dedicated to bodybuilding up until 2 years ago now when I moved in with my partner. I had lived by myself for 5 years. So I trained by myself, I ate by myself. Um, Everything I did was alone. And
Hmm.
really, like I'd even began to drift away from my parents. I lost friends, which anytime we're evolving, we're going to lose friends. But I had a tunnel vision and almost an obsession. And so I needed to find a healthy balance, whatever that meant for me, which I feel like I have. So
Hmm.
I got started on a very, very strict program back in January because I was like, okay, it's time. I'm ready. I've had enough time being a human, creating memories and experiences outside of the gym, outside of this.
Hmm.
And I wanted to give myself enough time to make sure that I had really, really improved my physique. So, with the help of my coach, we have put on 30 pounds in the last 6 months, um,
Nice.
which
All on the backside though.
mostly, mostly some of it in the legs. I had a
Yeah.
little bit of growing I needed to do there as well, but mostly in the backside, yes. So that's really exciting. And we had initially thought about waiting until 2025 to compete.
Hmm.
As I started to progress, we were both kind of like, okay, let's give it a go this year because worst case
Hmm.
scenario, we can always circle back and do next year. So it's almost it was by design. It's a little full circle moment because this is the same 2 shows that I did in 2021. Uh,
Got you.
Ended up in 7th place at nationals in 2021. I was first call outs at my first national show. Obviously, I didn't quite hit the mark or reach my goal at that time. So hopefully this year, I'm hoping for it, praying for it, working for it. I really want to get that pro card.
That's what it's all about. And it's interesting. I was talking to August or Agus Birdman last night, and y'all have the same coach, Justin Jacoby. So how did you link up with him?
Being quite honest, so I like to go on Reddit. I went through a lot of reviews of different coaches, and I actually
Mm.
interviewed 3 different coaches prior to hiring Justin, him being one of them. Just with my experiences in the past, I knew I had a specific coach in mind. I didn't know necessarily who that was, but as far as what they were about, the way that they go about doing things, having science being the cornerstone of the programming itself, but still including applied experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also needed a coach who was willing to listen to my personal input. I'm a big proponent, and especially when you're a seasoned competitor, we know our bodies better than anybody. And so if you get
Right.
a coach who is not going to take into consideration the feedback that you give them, I feel like you're leaving a lot of results on the table, and you're not going to bring as optimal of a package or physique as you could, as if that coach was willing to take some of your thoughts into consideration. So after a bunch of fantastic Reddit reviews about Justin, every single
Mm-hmm.
individual who talked about him, like there was literally no bad things. It just talked about how hands-on he was, how responsive he was, no matter what the client was or who the client was or their level, because he has Olympians all the way to first-time competitors.
He
And
does.
he gives everybody the same amount of attention, which I think is incredibly admirable.
Yes.
So after that, and doing our little interview and kind of talking shop and talking science, I was like, okay, I think this really fits. So here we are today, and I'm hoping that he will be the one to help me get that pro card. Like, that is what it's all about. It's been,
Yes, it is. And he's turned a lot of pros in bikini and wellness. And he's got Jess Falborn on stage this weekend at the Toronto Pro Showdown. She's women's physique. So I'll be talking to her next week. So his reputation precedes him. I think you got a good one. Do you have a posing coach as well?
I have always done my own posing. I've worked with
Okay.
a woman named Angeline Jensen in the past who's helped me. But I do plan on bringing somebody on board, because as a posing coach myself, I know that it's difficult to make those objective adjustments, especially in real time, in the back pose specifically. Like, you can't see yourself. So
Right.
I want to have a second set of eyes. I just haven't currently brought anybody on board at this point. I do have some people that I'm looking at, including
Okay.
Ken Wallach, because he is the OG.
Yes, he is. He's also Jess Falborn's posing coach as well. And he works a lot with Justin Jacoby's athletes as well. So you can't miss there. And he's legend. So first call out dead center, I think is his motto. So yeah, it's interesting how everything ties in. It. I guess you could say that the fitness world is a small world because everybody knows each other. Although it may seem to the fan that it's spread out and very large, but it's actually a small world. And so when you run into different coaches and posing coaches, uh, usually you run into a competitor that can say, okay, this guy was this, that, and the other, and you can find out who were the good ones and who are the ones to stay away from. So I applaud you on doing your research and finding a great coach, in which he is. So good on you. Now you are also a posing coach yourself. You do your own posing business. What got you started with that?
So, kind of circling back to my first show, I had no idea the importance of posing. I was like, okay, I can dance a little bit. Like, I did ballet and stuff when I was younger. I'm like,
Right.
surely I can nail this choreography. I was so wrong. My mom was the only person that came to my first show, and
Mm.
was also the only person who clapped after my individual routine. But between
Wow.
pre-judging and finals, I saw a video of myself, and I admittedly, I teared up a little bit because I was embarrassed. I was like, "Whoa, I look wrong. I look
Mm.
off. That is not right." I was so nervous that I was visibly shaking in the videos as well. So from that moment forward, I was like, I am going to figure out this posing thing and I'm going to be good at it, which I ultimately did. It took me a long time. Posing did not come naturally for me. Even though I've watched like every season of America's Next Top Model, it's not the same. I thought it was.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Um, so
Runway posing versus competition posing, very different. Yes.
yes, definitely. And so I kind of stumbled into helping others on accident. Back in 2020, there was a coach that was local to Wilmington who sent me a couple of girls. And I just fell in love with the process of helping them. And I actually used to give horseback riding lessons when I was a
Hmm.
teen in college. So I just kind of applied that, breaking everything step by step down, making it as rudimentary as possible, and then beginning to layer on top of that. And so that's where I feel like I excel as a teacher because I am able to break things down into a much more digestible way than just throwing everything at you all at once. Um, and then from there, I just continued kind of like a snowball effect. Um,
Hmm.
and I branched out into when after I competed in wellness, I branched out into
Yeah.
helping the wellness competitors. And I always say that sometimes it's not the best athletes that are the best coaches, kind of like if you were to look at NFL or the NBA, it's not like
Hmm.
LeBron James is the coach of the Lakers currently. No, well, I mean, he's a player still, but you get the analogy that I'm trying to make.
Yes.
So, um,
There are coaches that pull out the best in you, and some coaches can pull out something that another coach couldn't. So yeah, that chemistry and how well a coach knows you is critically important, whether opposing coach or competition coach, training trainer as well. So yeah, I completely understand.
I always tried to make a connection with the girls, find out the why behind their sport or why behind their prep, because no matter how different our backgrounds are, I always feel that we're all connected by the fact that we've gone through something emotionally painful enough that we're no longer scared of physical pain or the hard work that is required from bodybuilding. So
Right.
I always tried to dig a little bit deeper and understand the why if someone's willing to open up and share that with me. Um, and kind of apply that to their learning style, reminding them when times get hard of why they're doing it and like remind them like so and so 10 years ago, like imagine if you could see yourself back then how you are right now. So
Hmm.
always trying to help be positive and bring out the best in people, like you said. Because again, to me, it doesn't matter if you are the leanest person on stage, if you can't present it and you don't feel confident doing it, you're not going to do well in the show.
Very true. Doesn't matter how shredded you are if you can't present the package that you worked hard to build however many weeks doesn't really matter. So you got
And
to be
even,
able to present yourself.
and even if everything that you do in your posing is technically correct, I'm a big believer that like judges can feel your energy. They can like tell the
Oh
vibe.
yes,
So
from the simple eye contact to they know whether you're comfortable or you're not comfortable. And it's
uh,
like, yeah, she got it from the time that you walk out. And you have an amazing walk stage presence, I should say, as you come out as well. So I mean, you definitely got it.
it's
So
all in
now
my
that you like refocused, hey, let's go.
head. I always try to instill that confidence, but I always tell people either fake it till you make it or fake it till you
Hmm.
become it. Because I mean, I don't always feel 100%, but when I step on that stage, I'm going to dang sure act like it um, as best as I can.
Hmm.
And
How long would you say that you spend posing a day on yourself?
on myself, I try to give at least 15, 20 minutes when I'm done working out in the
Hmm.
podium prior to going home. If I have check-ins that day, it'll probably be about and I take a while to take my check-ins. I always wanna make sure that I'm getting good footage, so it'll be about 40 minutes. So either 20 to 45 minutes a day, um, and that's what I encourage other people to do. One of
Right.
Jacoby's other athletes, gosh, I know her Instagram name, The Real Lois Lane.
Yes. Oh, yes.
She made
Now
a
that's somebody that can pose for sure. Yes.
I'm trying to get my boyfriend to go to her for some
Hmm.
classic posing because she has, you want to talk about finesse, style, and
Yes.
confidence? I aspire
Yes.
to be like her. Um, but she made this post about the rule of 18. If you do something for 18 minutes a day, every day for 100 days, it'll be better than like, I think it was a percentage like 90 or 98% better than the rest of the world at that one particular thing. So that's just something I've kept in mind since then. And I kind of pass along that analogy or story to my clients and all of those around me. So I try to do as much as I can. But then on top of posing with others, I'm posing
Mm-hmm.
6, 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
My heels are well worn.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you just all classes or just bikini and wellness?
I just stick to bikini and wellness. So
Okay.
there was a time in my life that I was going to compete in figure, so I learned how to do the poses. I learned how to put together a routine. I don't have the experience on stage that I feel like would be critical to helping others excel in that area. I may be wrong in that, but I just feel that if you don't have the actual experience yourself in that division, you're not as likely to know the little odds and ends and specific criteria and minuscule adjustments that can make something look better or worse in certain instances. But that's just my own opinion about it. I don't study the figure division as closely as the others, so not that it's totally out of the question, I may one day, but for now, I just stick to bikini and wellness, which are 2 massive divisions, and then
Yes,
team.
they are. You could argue they're the most popular. It's the two that I always hear women say, "Oh, I could do wellness or I could do bikini," but it's so much more than just a big butt and a smile. I mean, at the end of the day, they say they can do that and they want it. Then you get in that gym and find out, hey, preparing in wellness and bikini is just as hard. You may say, well, I don't want to look like a women's bodybuilder or a women's physique or what have you, but that's not a given. But everybody draw to that and they quickly find out that, oh, okay, this is not for me
Right.
when you talk about wellness and bikini. So,
I always tell people, like, lifestyle clients or just people around, I'm like, "You're not gonna wake up and look like a bodybuilder on accident."
hmm
So, it's gonna take a lot of hard work and dedication, and most people, even in bikini, like, the level for entry as far as muscle is a lot lower than some of the other divisions,
right.
but you're not just gonna come out of training for fun and go straight into being a top level bikini competitor. It takes a very strategic approach no matter what division you're
hmm There's a big level between amateur to pro and then from pro to Olympian. And people just don't get it. And then they find out that this is something that they can't do because they weren't counting on all the dedication, weren't counting on all the time, most importantly, and they weren't thinking about how long the training was going to be. So, how long is your prep ideal for you, whether wellness or bikini? But what's been your ideal prep length?
in, like weeks. Um,
hmm
I would say that it depends on the individual, of course. Um, and it depends on how well you've primed yourself to begin a prep. But I think 20 weeks, 16 to 20 weeks is a great timeline. Most people need to lose 16 to 20 pounds, if not a little bit more. So it keeps your rate of loss around 1 to 1.5 pounds per week, which is very doable and you can do it safely without having to
hmm
crash diet. It also gives you enough wiggle room to get ready prior to the show. I'm a big proponent in getting ready a little bit early, not too early, but just enough to
hmm
be where you can maintain that physique and kind of cruise into the show rather than trying to hammer everything down really hard at the end.
Gotcha. So when you look at it, all goes well. You win the state championships. You go to nationals and you get your pro card. What do you think would be the ideal step next year to do a pro show? Or as you've been following your pattern, would you now take another year off? Have you thought that far out?
Um, like I'm gonna get emotional thinking about it. Um, I do
It's
have
gonna happen. You want to get ready for it, and you better get ready for your post win interview because it just is. So people can be so consumed with failure that they're not ready for success when it happens. So, you know,
like, well,
it's gonna happen.
so I've always wanted to do the New York Pro as a pro. Um,
hmm
although the New York Pro is in Teaneck, New Jersey, I've always wanted to go to New York City, and I just have not been yet.
Okay.
So I feel like it would be a great place to celebrate. It's a very, very prestigious show, a great way to
hmm
get your name out there. So that would be
So now,
ideal.
Mina, You're
Yeah.
telling me that you're gonna skip right past the Charlotte Pro, right past the Pittsburgh Pro, and go to New York? I'm just saying.
Dream big.
Yeah, but it's a home game, you know. I
Yeah,
believe
doing
it's a home game, but anyway.
well, I think that Johnny might be a little bit upset if I did not do the Charlotte Pro.
I think he
Um,
would.
so that would definitely, I mean, when I do make my pro debut, I don't want it to be a one and done situation.
Right.
So depending on the judges' feedback and what I can do between December and April of 2025, it'll be dependent on if I continue to take more time off or begin my first pro show season where I do several shows back to back.
Mhm.
And try to get that Olympia qualification.
Of course, that's the ideal um, icing on the cake. You don't train for anything else to get on that Olympia stage. I don't know where it will be next year. Maybe stay in Vegas. Or hopefully, they'll come back to Orlando because that's as easier access, and don't have to fly. I like to drive myself because just so many horror stories about flying. Not just the turbulence, but loss of bags, and it's like, hey, I can't afford to lose any camera equipment. But we'll see. So it's very excited for you. Shelby, North Carolina. Now, what are you looking at training on going forward based on the last feedback that you got was what?
Last feedback that I got was that I needed more hamstrings and better conditioning. So
Okay.
I didn't get any feedback about my glutes then, but let me tell you, I believe wellness has evolved since 2021. So
Mm,
I feel that if I do get any feedback, I might get the feedback that I need a little bit more upper and
right.
outer glute. Um, but that's right now. I'm just driving glutes hard. I train glutes 3 to 4 times a week,
Hmm.
and
What sort of exercises?
hip thrusts, Bulgarian split squats, glute kickbacks, RDLs of all
Hmm.
different varieties, single leg on the pit shark, um, abduction machine. That's another staple in
Yeah.
my program. Um, there's
How important is mind muscle connection? Because it literally just becomes muscle memory. You've done it so much and you're in a groove. How important is that?
I feel like it's definitely paramount to making the most out of your training. Um, of course, we want to see progressive overload and
Hmm.
increasing weight, but if you are not able to control that weight and use that particular muscle group without any other accessory muscle groups taking over, then you need to bring the weight back down and work on that mind muscle connection because it really is truly the difference between just working out and training, in my own opinion.
Gotcha. I understand. So, who's your favorite wellness competitor based on what you've seen this season?
Oh, that's a really good question.
I mean,
Uh,
wellness is 4 years old. This is like its senior year, if you will, going into the Olympia. But who do you like? Who do you aspire to be? Who motivates you the most?
um, Off the top of my head, I had the opportunity. So, fun fact about me, I've spray tanned for Elite Performance Tanning and Pro Tan for the last 5 years. So I got to spray tan the
Okay.
Charlotte, and I got to meet Bruna. Like, her last name starts with an S. I don't want to pronounce it, but I got
Okay.
to meet her in person at the Charlotte Pro. And she was super encouraging, and I know that might be a little bit self-absorbed in a way. She was really encouraging to me and my goals, and so it's always really nice when you meet those that you look up to, that they
Right.
are super kind and like take the time to encourage you even when they're about to step on one of the biggest stages of their own. Well, she did the Arnold, but she was trying
Hmm.
to secure that additional Olympia qualification. So she was focused on what she was doing, but still took the time to be kind to me. Also, her glutes are just absolutely insane. I know Tyler gave her some feedback that she needs to bring up her quads a little bit, but I think
Hmm.
from the back, she can give almost anybody a run for their money, especially seeing her in person. Her tie-ins just like they come so low and they're so crisp, and that is what I aspire to have.
Yeah.
I would be so I'm giving you a few favorites.
That's just fine.
Alexis is also going to be one of my favorites because, again, I got to compete against her in bikini. We actually went first and second at that show.
Yep. She was just at the Miami, and I believe she's doing
But,
the Toronto Frodo. Yeah, Showdown. Yeah.
and
What's
so
her last name? Alexis
Adams, I believe her.
Adams. Yep. A-Fit Adams. Yes.
I think it's Alexis Nicole now.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
so it's cool to see somebody who started when you did, because that was her first NPC show and my first NPC show. So
Okay.
we started about the same time. So it's really nice to like see those that you know and can honestly compare yourself to
Yep.
move up and get to the place where you want to be, even if it is before you. Like, you got to cheer on everybody. So
You're right.
it's been
And she's
really,
done the Arnold, and she was at the Olympia last year, so she's going for that two-time Olympia qualification. So
and I think when she
she
makes it to
looks
the
great.
this year, she's gonna make a splash. She is absolutely brought
Yeah.
so much to her package within the last year.
Yeah, a lot can be taken away from that first Olympia because you just don't know, and you're trying to take it all in, and it definitely can be overwhelming. But then you get the hunger. It's like, okay, I got to get this again because I like this, and it really becomes a habit to an addiction, and that's how champions grow and come out as one of the best of the best. I wanted to ask you about Wolfpack. Now, Wolfpack has become a big time sponsor of the wellness division. The prize money is looking great. And so when you look at it, competitors are going to do multiple shows just because, okay, there's a larger amount of prize money. You got a great sponsor in Wolfpack. And so the division, when you get the support, the division grows. So what are your thoughts on that? Will that cause you, if your prize money is what it is, will that cause you to do more shows or just pick out that one show and roll on?
Um,
Because now it could become about the prize money, which is nice. And maybe it shouldn't because you want to have yourself on a pitch count, or how many shows would you, taking everything I've said, how many shows you think is optimum in a year's prep? Qualification, or because you could very well, you get the qualification, shut it down, right? Or you do that second show just to see where you're coming in at or where you stack up at. But if the prize money is good, you may do 3 or 4.
right. Um, Again, I do think it's super dependent on the individual and what their body can handle. Um, for me, even before wellness started getting the money that it does, I mean, none of the women's divisions have payouts that are that large that to me are worth your physical health.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
you're right.
I feel like once you get that qualification, you might do 3 or 4 shows to get it. But
Mm-hmm.
after that, in my opinion, I feel like you should shut it down, give yourself a break so you can bring your best to the Olympia and you're not bringing a tired, worn out physique or a physique that you can't get as lean as you had at the other show.
Right. Or they like say, well, my body started failing me because you've been in prep so long. So
Right.
give me your last thoughts, last words. I don't really have a last question for you other than Justin Jacoby. How long y'all been together? You're building chemistry. And what's been your, obviously we know what the ultimate goal is for this year and going into the next, but how's that relationship, coach to competitor?
Um, so just like I saw in the reviews, we've been working together now for 6 months.
Okay, 6
Um,
months.
his hands on, and like, he's in Florida, I'm in North Carolina, but his response time, his ability to take my own experiences and my own thoughts into consideration, really, I couldn't ask for more in a coach, especially like I said, he has so many competitors and he has so many high
It
level
does.
competitors. It's easy like to brush somebody off, but he has never done that. And so we have a really good relationship, I think, and I'm excited to hopefully be able to meet him in person at nationals.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it's not just like we always talk business, but there's like we're cut from the same cloth. So he's passionate about the sport. I'm passionate about the sport. So I feel like even in a professional setting, you got to have a cornerstone of some relatability to really succeed, especially with something as personal and individualized as bodybuilding. Because sometimes you got to talk about what's going on in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and sometimes things that might not be comfortable to share with just anybody. So I've been really, really pleased with my experience with Justin so far, and I look forward to continuing to work with him no matter what happens this year.
All right, so I'm gonna have to get more wellness competitors in North Carolina. I don't know where all you guys are at, but I'm looking for you. There's you, there's Melissa Guerrero, Erica Lopez. I mean, we're trying to build this Wellness Wednesday show up, so I'm gonna bring y'all on. I'm gonna produce it, but Melissa, she's gonna anchor it and go on from there. So it's all like a spinoff of the Amazon's podcast. So wellness is definitely one of the hot topics, one of the biggest divisions coming up. And so I want to continue to market that, and especially market you guys are in North Carolina, because you got to recruit local and get you guys in Amazon's Fitness magazine for sure.
Well, I don't know if you saw my client that competed at the Palmetto.
Did not.
Arrington.
She's from local. She's from Charlotte or where?
Yeah, she trains at Megaflex with myself.
Okay.
She won first place in all her classes at her first show. But she's a special one to me. I saw her at the gym a little bit over a year ago, and I saw her deadlifting like 315. And I was like, "Hey, girl,
nice.
you really thought about being a wellness competitor?"
Yeah.
Look at you. And she was like, "No, I haven't, but that's really kind." And then fast forward a year later, she messages me and she's like, "I'm competing. I need some posing." So it was really cool to see her shine and like know that, just see her kind of fulfill that image that I had in my mind, because I knew she could do it. So it was cool to see it all come to fruition.
And what's her name?
Arrington, Arrington, Lineberry, Lineberry. She's on my page. She's in a blue bikini with gorgeous blonde hair. Like, gorgeous. So I'm excited to see what she does. She may end up doing nationals, the same one in Texas with me as well.
Okay, that would be great. And but then now that brings up another question. You're both doing nationals in Texas. She's your athlete. You coached her. How's that relationship gonna go? Looking ahead, is that one of them things where I say, okay, I can't coach you no more because we're going for the same thing, the same pro card, and God forbid, she could beat you. Talk to me about that that dynamic.
So she's just my posing client. I don't do her nutrition or her training. So I feel like there's a little bit different context there. I actually, whenever I'm about 4 weeks out from a show, if I have clients who are competing in the same show around the same time,
I got you.
I don't feel like I have the experience to be able to juggle those at the same time. So I usually refer them to somebody else to kind of finish that off. That's what I did in 2021. But just for posing, we are in different height classes, and they give out 2 pro cards per height class for nationals in Texas. So in this specific instance, I don't feel like there'll be a lot of conflict of interest. It'll just be supporting each other, because I'm like, now, of course, winning the overall at nationals is its own prestigious title in itself.
There you go. Yeah.
That may be a little bit of a competition, but I always want to see the best in people. So I'm never going to downplay or try and steer someone wrong. I'm going to give them my 100%, even if we are competing against each other at some point.
Well, competition does bring out the best in everyone, and that's what you want. It also can bring out the worst in everyone, but hopefully it's going to bring out the best, and you push each other, and that's a good thing. So, do you think sportsmanship goes well in the wellness division, or do you guys get sort of catty and nasty towards each other backstage?
In my experience, everything was I get it. Like every other answer, it's dependent on the individual.
Yeah.
Like Erica and I competed against each other in
Erica
2020.
Lopez.
We, there was never one moment where either one of us were like catty, or we just supported each other pretty much unconditionally. We would do, like, we did one of our last workouts together. We took photos together at the show. We hung out after the show. Not immediately that day after, but we still continue to hang out. Now, on the other hand, when I was backstage at Nationals in 2021, there was a handful of girls, just kind of like in any other female division, that they were having their little gossip corner. And I was,
Really?
yeah. I mean, I don't think it necessarily has so much to do with the sport division, but there's always going to be people who are projecting their insecurities in a negative way. And so it's just how I always encourage my girls and myself to bring your headphones backstage. I mean, you want to be able alert enough that you don't miss your class, but be in a position where you can just kind of go into your own world instead of like being so stimulated by it, especially at the national level. That backstage was crazy. All the people talking, the loud, the bass, even just the bass of the music, I feel like could definitely get your heart rate elevated. So just kind of go into your own little Zen world before you step on stage, and then just think about it as another day of check-ins. You just happen to be on stage.
Good stuff. Mina Greenlee, we're going to be talking again. So look at your calendar and let me know as we get a little closer to your show. And of course, we'll be shooting for Amazon's Fitness Magazine. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. Come back again and do it again soon. And like I said, we got to get this shoot in.
Yes, definitely. I look forward to it.
All right. Take care. Talk soon. Coming up next is Brittany Flex. She'll be joining the podcast here in a few moments at 8:30. So you guys stick around, and we're going to talk to her everything women's physique and her journey and what she's going to do next. So looking forward to it. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in a couple of minutes as we continue up into the second hour of the Amazon's podcast.
Life's best moments are best captured by photography and video. You may ask, why photography and video? Because if a photo is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. And GPS photography and video will leave you speechless. GPS specializes in weddings, sports, fitness, and so much more. Book your next shoot today at 910-257-0526 or gpsphotoandvideo.com.